Something. Well, I can assure you, I am not trying to sell you anything. That job is done for me. There it is out at the door. Now then, let's get started, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, hurry, hurry, step right up for the event of a lifetime. Come see the one and only car that carried the most conniving, cunning, cutthroat, criminal couple ever conceived in this country, the Bonnie and Clyde death car. Now, we've all heard of Bonnie and Clyde and their reign of terror, and today, I will not be telling you about them, but rather their death car. It's an art museum, folks, not some famous criminal's expose. Besides, I see youngsters present and angry mothers scare me. In March of 1934, the Warren family of Topeka, Kansas purchased a brand new 1934 Ford, much like the vehicle you will soon be seeing here. It was a beautiful car and amongst the most powerful of its time. Little did the Warrens know their new automobile would soon become one of the most famous, if not infamous, cars in history. Because of Ford's powerful V8 engine, it had become a favorite to Clyde Barrow for his bank heists. In fact, on April 18th of 1934, Clyde Barrow wrote a letter to Henry Ford endorsing his fine car. Rumor has it Ford actually considered picking up Barrow as a spokesman for his cars, but then you realize it might hurt the American economy to have one of its major corporations represented by a crook. On April 29th, the Warrens left their nearly new car in the driveway with the keys still in the ignition. You gotta remember, folks, this was a simpler time when before Grand Theft Auto was really something to worry about. Shortly after 1 a.m., the vehicle was stolen and became Bonnie and Clyde's heist car. 80 years ago, that's May 23rd, 1934, less than a month and over 7,500 miles later, law enforcement set up an ambush that would put an end to the lives of Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde were shot, bada bing, execution style, when bullets flew through the 1934 Ford, and with the last breaths of the crooked couple, their death car was born. The car gained immediate notoriety, drawing huge crowds as it was towed into town with Bonnie and Clyde still inside. As the bodies were unloaded into the morgue, spectators rushed the vehicle, stealing parts of it for souvenirs. If you can imagine, it was like it'd be Justin Bieber's car, but instead of a pop star, he had a criminal record. That's a bad example. Soon the car was put into police evidence and a battle began over ownership of it. The Warrens had been approached by a showman who wanted to rent the vehicle from them to display at the Chicago World's Fair, but the police would not release the car. In August of 1934, the ownership was finally determined and the automobile was returned to the Warrens. Mrs. Warren first approached United Shows, who rented the car from her and displayed it right in her hometown at the Topeka Fair. The Warrens continued exhibiting the car with the help of a carnival man who named himself the Crime Doctor as an anti-crime display through 1939, at which time the Warrens went through a bitter divorce and the vehicle was sold to the Crime Doctor for $3,500. That is nearly $2,700 more than what the Warrens paid for it initially. And it paid for almost a quarter of the divorce lawyer's fees. However, where there is profit, there is fraud. By 1940, the public started to show a lack of interest in the car, primarily because other vehicles were popping up at fairs, being advertised as the Bonnie and Clyde death car. People began to doubt the vehicle's authenticity. In 1952, the Crime Doctor sold the death car to a man named Ted Toddy, who's producing a movie called Kill All, a documentary about gangsters in the 30s. Toddy used it to promote his movie. The car has since exchanged hands numerous times, but has always been used for exhibition purposes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to get your cameras ready, you're about to see the Bonnie and Clyde death car. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I know what you're all thinking. This flim-flam man is trying to pull a fast one on us. He's selling us a bill of goods. He's taking us for a ride, no pun intended. We're being fleeced, hoodwinked, stiffed, duped, scammed. Well, I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, that you all are absolutely correct. No rotten tomatoes, huh? It's the first time for everything. Yes, you guessed it, folks. The automobile before you today is one of 6 known fraudulent death cars that toured as the original and deceived the public during the 1930s through the 1960s until the law caught up with its exhibitor. Did I mention what a beautiful crowd this is? I mean, really, you're all just wonderful people. I mean, if anyone ever asked me to testify against any of you in a court of law, I would say no. The real car is currently on display at Whiskey Pete's Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. Warner Brothers, who are getting set to produce their 1967 movie, Bonnie and Clyde, purchased this fraudulent death car as a reference for their movie cars. After the movie was released in 1968, the vehicle was purchased by the Tragedy in U.S. History Museum, where it continued to be exhibited until 1993 as the Bonnie and Clyde death car. But then in fine print it said, from the movie Bonnie and Clyde. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. A quality vehicle that was intended for nothing more than that of an average family, A to B, rose to the same ranks of criminal infamy as John Wilkes Booth, or Al Capone, or 1980s fashion sense. I would like to personally thank you for lending me your eyes and ears. Not to worry, I did wash my hands before handling them. And to remind you all that there are annual memberships to the museum that are available.